Some shows talk about one team. Other shows barely talk sports. This show will talk Packers, Brewers, and Bucks every day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer, served up by Wendy's on 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan. Download the Wendy's app today.
Third and final hour of that program. Ramie Makhlouf in for Steve Sparky Pfeiffer this afternoon. We'll get you a green and gold update with Jason Hirschhorn, co-founder of the Leap Packers newsletter, coming up at 4:20. But what a way to kick off the 4 o'clock hour with our old friend, your old friend. He needs no introduction. You can catch him on the Infinity Sports Network weeknights 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. and follow him on Twitter at Bart Winkler Show, and check out the podcast Into the Winklerverse. And if you're watching at youtube.com/thefan-Milwaukee, you can see that beautiful mug of his, and you'll notice a slimmed down Bart Winkler. Why is this? It zoomed in on me again. It zoomed in on me. That's way too much of my face. There we go. Hey, Bart, how are you this afternoon, my man?
I was going to say the same about you. You're looking pretty good. Do you know you're supposed to lose weight before the wedding?
I did. I lost like 23 pounds, 24 pounds before the wedding, and then I was stuck, Bart. I was stuck right around like 207. But I hit my stride again. Now I'm down to like 201, 202. I lost like 6-7 pounds here again recently. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, I'm doing it. I'm trying to live a long life. Trying to stay around.
I'm happy to be joined. I'm happy to be joining you. I was going to have to say no. I had jury summons yesterday.
Oh. And
I was seated on 2 different trials. Now, I did not get assigned to either of them. Thank, the powers that be. And I think, when you say, about the radio, everybody, saying that in front of a room where nobody knows who you are sucks, by the way. but so I think that got me off. But then
you think that scares them off when you tell them your profession?
Yeah, I think so. But then also, I think I got disqualified from one because I told the defense attorney, he goes, does anyone have any questions, or is anybody unsure about, how I'm presenting this information about, some things, just innocent till proven guilty, all that. And I raised my hand. They gave me the mic. I go, I got to be honest. It doesn't seem like you're very confident in your case. And he's like, what? I'm like, the way you're presenting, you sound like you're already I know you're the defense attorney, but it sounds like you're already playing defense. And then some girl behind me goes, that's how it's supposed to sound. And I snapped at her. I go, what did you say? And the judge is like, whoa, no talking. I did not get placed on that jury.
Yeah,
I can be here with you.
I would imagine not. Yeah, they're like, this guy's a problem. We haven't even gotten to the actual trial, and this guy is a real problem for us. You're dismissed, sir. You are dismissed. Well, that's good. Nobody wants to actually be placed on a jury. You know what I mean? It's good that we have them. We all want them, but none of us really want to be on them.
I wasn't, if they don't like the information I'm presenting, that's fine. But I wasn't like, some people go in there clearly, they've got their strategy. Like, is there anybody that can't be on this jury? Yeah, me. Oh, why is that juror number 4? I've got undiagnosed anxiety. Yeah, we all do, bro. It's 2025. I at least got pills in my upstairs bathroom for it. Go see a doctor.
My dad was this close to being on the Rittenhouse jury, believe it or not. He was like one of the final people dismissed down there in Kenosha. He wanted to be.
He wanted to be to that in any way.
Good idea. I probably shouldn't have even brought it up in any way. Let's talk sports, Bart Winkler. I'm just going to throw at you things that we've talked about on today's show. First of all, two-part Jordan Love question. I'm sure you heard the news that he's going to have surgery on the thumb on his non-throwing hand to repair some ligament damage. Non-throwing hand. If you're in your car and you just heard the news, don't drive off. He should be back in practice by like late next week, they're saying, and they think he'll be ready for the season opener here in a few weeks. But that, along with, I don't know if you love Mike Sando's QB tiers column that he puts out every year as much as I do, but Jordan Love 13th and a tier 2 quarterback, according to 50 coaches, executives, and other people that Sando surveyed. So part one of the question, any concern that Jordan Love is injury prone after we saw what we saw last year and then the thumb injury this year? And do you think Jordan Love kind of leveled off as a tier 2 quarterback, and is that good enough?
All right, first, I actually don't believe that you can be injury prone.
Okay, I know there are people who believe that. I said that earlier when we talked about it. That's fair.
I don't think that's a thing. I think some people get hurt and some people don't. I think it's a luck of the draw sometimes. Or if you're putting yourselves in more situations, then you get hurt more. Like if you're Jordan Love, if he was just like a carpenter, would he be hurt all the time like this?
Probably not. I mean, you might get a nail through the finger or hit his thumb with a hammer or something. That could happen.
Maybe not, that's maybe a tier 2 analogy, but I think that
or if you're a running quarterback, you're putting yourself in a situation or a position where you could get hurt more often.
Non-throwing hand, so I'd love to downplay that. I think part of what happened and maybe why people think he leveled off last year was because I do think when he was hurt, that affected his mentality. I think that he thought he was limited in some ways, and he made some decisions that were bad that he would not make if I don't think he was fully healthy. So I don't know how much it's going to affect him. I don't know how much he's going to be thinking about it. Thankfully, it's not on the throwing hand. I don't like he's not. So I did my quarterback rankings a couple weeks ago because everybody does.
Oh, is this on the Bartometer?
It was.
Oh, nice. I love the Bartometer. I listen to Bart often, and you should too.
Thank you. So obviously the top 4, I put Allen, and this was my order. Josh Allen, Lamar, Josh Allen. Hey, you still have that take?
Josh Allen, number 1?
You still have that take?
I've backed off it a little bit. He's still overrated, though. He didn't deserve that MVP last year. It was Lamar Jackson, but I digress.
Well, that's 1, 2, and you can,
he's like 5th or 6th best quarterback in the league.
Well, he's no lower than 5.
Okay.
All right.
Give you that.
I get it, Shams. You got to stick with your Giannis bit.
We're going to get into that, too. Go ahead.
Mahomes, everybody thinks the top 4 is Allen, Lamar, Mahomes, and Burrow. Jalen Hurts is 5. I don't know why people are trying to dismiss his role with that team. And then I put Jordan Love as a top 10 quarterback. I think that what we saw from him when he was at his best was really, really good. If you flip those 2 years around, if you flip his first year and his second year, and people are, how high everyone is on Jaden Daniels. Yep. They're that high, if not higher, on Jordan Love. I think there's a lot of potential there. I still think there's a lot of room to grow there. I think we've already seen flashes of it that just has to materialize in a game more. But I don't like. Are we comparing him to Aaron Rodgers at his peak? Are we comparing him to Brett Favre at his peak? Or are we comparing him to his contemporaries?
I'm comparing him to his
quarterbacks better than him.
No, I'm comparing him to his contemporaries. I'll just quickly run down the guys they have ahead of him in Mike Sando's QB tier. And again, this is not Mike Sando saying it. He talked with 50 people around the league, including general managers, assistant GMs, former GMs, head coaches, and coordinators. So this is their evaluation and their voting that put Jordan Love where he's at. They have Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, Jackson, Stafford. Those are the tier 1 QBs. And then you got Jaden Daniels, Justin Herbert, Jared Goff, C.J. Stroud, Jalen Hurts, Baker Mayfield, Dak Prescott, and then Jordan Love.
Yeah, and then so when I did my quarterbacks, I think there is a top 5, and then 6 through 15 are dealer's choice. So it's if you want to put Jordan Love at 13, that's basically putting him at 7. That's basically putting him at 10. The tier 2, these are so interchangeable, I think, on how people are going to try to put them. that, yeah, if you're putting him as a tier 2 quarterback and then ranking him in that, okay, whatever. But he's not tier 1, but he's not tier 3. So I think tier 2 is fine for him.
Do you think he could get to tier? Do you think he can get into the class of Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, and Jackson? And I'll give you the description of what a tier 1 quarterback is. Can carry his team each week. They win because of him. He expertly handles pure passing situations, has no real holes in his game. Those are the criteria for a tier 1 QB. Do you think Jordan Love can fit that description and be in the class of those guys I just mentioned?
Maybe. To have a flawless game with no holes. I don't think we've seen that yet. But then again, a lot of that description is how he looked at the end of his first year as a starter. He was
I think that's a great
game
point
against the Giants. He was MVP like.
Yeah, and I think it's a good point you made that if you flip the 2 years and you saw like a step forward from year 1 to year 2, the narrative is totally different. And of course the injuries played a factor in how he played and his decision-making last year. So you make some good points, Bart. And I said that I could see him climbing up to like the top of tier 2, but I don't know if I ever see him getting into that tier 1 category and being mentioned in the same breath.
Even that is
a
a huge win for this franchise.
For sure. Yeah. And I said that's enough. It makes things tougher than it was when you had an Aaron Rodgers or a Brett Favre, and they were, clear-cut tier 1 quarterbacks, and you could win and single-handedly be in contention because of those guys. You need a better defense. You need a better running game. You're going to need a better coach. You're going to need the rest of the roster in the organization to carry more weight to get into the Super Bowl conversation than you did throughout those guys' tenures as the Packers quarterback.
Yeah, I think that this is a big year for them, though. I mean, I don't want to see injuries. I don't want to see excuses. I need to see Matt LaFleur and Jordan Love put it together. This is the 7th year of LaFleur, and the 3rd year with Love as a starter. I mean, even if Love is tier 2 at the bottom, you give another coach these 3 years of Jordan Love and 4 years of Aaron Rodgers, 2 where he's an MVP. The other guys are getting 2 Super Bowls with that.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Let's get into some Brewers. Talking with Bart Winkler, Infinity Sports Network, weeknights, 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. You'll hear him right here on The Fan. Can this team surprise you anymore? Their second 10-game winning streak of the season. I gave out this stat earlier in the show. Only 2 teams in recent memory have had 2 10-game winning streaks. It was the 2019 Astros and the 2017 Dodgers. Both of them ended up in the World Series. They're 25-4 in their last 29 games. They've won 49 of their last 65 games. How do you explain this, Bart? And can they even surprise you at this point, or do you just expect what they're doing?
I saw a Joe Zanzola tweet, and at
Radio
first
Joe. I haven't talked to Joe in a minute. How's he doing?
Well, are you back in the fantasy league we're doing?
Yeah, you haven't sent me an invite, but if I'm invited, I'm in.
I sent everyone an email. Nobody responded except for Zach.
No, I didn't get an email. I swear I didn't get an email.
Okay. I'll get on that this week. He goes, and at first I looked at it, I go, Joe. But then I was like, actually, Joe, this slaps. He says, the Brewers did not make a deal with Devil. Euchre made a deal with God. And I was like, hell yeah, Joe. I think
your first thought was that's corny.
It was, but
that
then
was your first, yeah.
But then I quickly came on board.
Okay, fair.
I think, like, as me, a Brewers fan who has told himself and convinced himself they're never going to win a World Series, this year starts to shake that a little bit out of you. But still, I'm not going to let the playoffs are what would be surprising. If they succeed in the playoffs, I'm going to be surprised. I am surprised with how good they are, but also they have really the thing about this team, and it's so true, and it was true. Saturday night was a great example. Was you can't make a mistake. Like, you can't make any single mistake at all, because then they will get it on you. Oh, yeah. The pitch clock expired 1 second prior. Okay, throw another pitch. Okay, Contreras home run. I mean, it is ridiculous if you're playing against them at this point. But I do think that this level of, precision with how they are kind of exploiting other people's mishaps, that is going to benefit. If they can keep this up, the 5-game series against the Cubs, the Brewers are coming into that with, great vibes and eating pancakes out of pockets and not feeling like any pressure at all. They're just going out there and they're winning. And, is momentum real? Maybe, maybe not. I think believing when you're down 5-0 that it's just the first inning, who cares? You can still come back is real. And so the Cubs are going to be the ones maybe more prone to make mistakes. And you're going to have other teams that are in a playoff pressure situation like the Mets were. They're feeling pressure. They make mistakes. Brewers capitalize. You're going to have teams that are bringing up young guys who are going to make mistakes. Brewers will capitalize. You're going to have teams that are not really playing for anything. They're going to make mistakes because they're not being attentive. Brewers will capitalize. So as long as they keep this focus, they should be the number 1 seed, which is going to be transformative because a lot of these years they get into the playoffs, but as a wild card, and then in a 3-game series, someone hits 1 home run against you, and you're done. Yeah. So a longer series, and this is a big. Hold on, 2 things baseball needs to change. I would like the same level of rounds in every playoff series. I would like it to all be 7. NBA can do it. Baseball can do it. And also, the AL and NL are the same league now as much as AFC and NFC are. Why are we still giving out MVPs in both leagues? Stupid.
I hadn't even thought about that. That's a good point.
Thank you.
Do you think the Cubs make it interesting or the Brewers keep running away with this thing?
Well, the big series is going to determine everything. If the Cubs, like that Monday's huge. If they can get both those games, then suddenly maybe the Brewers do feel a little pressure. And we'll see what happens in the week leading up to that. But I don't know. I don't know. I think it's funny that I ever got sad that Craig Counsell went there because he blows.
And would you eat a pancake that's been in your pocket all day? I wouldn't. I mean, it's a fun story, and I like Pat Murphy. He's a fun dude. It's kind of gross. It's the pocket pancake is a little. I'm not eating a pancake that's been sitting in my pocket all day. Yeah, I'm asking. Oh yeah, yeah. You're
me, the guy that used to eat buffalo chicken wings at Brothers on the toilet. You're asking me.
I forgot. You would definitely eat a pocket pancake, no doubt about it. And last thing for you, Bart, real quick, because I got to get to Jason Hirschhorn and our green and gold update. How stupid is the Giannis dialogue at this point?
Well, it's only coming from one guy.
No, Zach Harper today, who I love. I love Zach Harper.
What did Zach Harper say?
He put out his concernometer, just went around the league and his level of concern for a few different teams in the NBA, and he has the Bucks' level of concern and the Giannis situation at a 7 of 10.
What situation is there?
That's what I'm saying. It's August 12th. Like at this point, if he wanted out, we'd know. He would have come just right out and said it by now, wouldn't he? He's not going to pull the rug out on him a few weeks before training camp. Unless
Horse is cooking up some like Karl Anthony Towns, Julius Randle deal, like they did in September last year. Those teams, I don't look. The problem with this is everybody now is so entrenched that maybe Giannis doesn't finish as a Buck, and they're going to be able to say "I told you so," which is a crock of. Almost said it.
Yeah, this isn't your podcast. You can't say that.
I just recorded a new one with Jay Kokorowski. We talked Badgers.
Nice. Yeah. Check it out. Give people, where do they find that, Bart?
Wherever you find your pods.
Wherever you find your pods. That's where you find Into the Winklerverse. You also catch him weeknights, 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. on the Infinity Sports Network and right here on The Fan. You know him. You love him. I don't need to tell you. He's Bart Winkler, and he's been my guest for the last few minutes on the Fan Guest Line powered by Gruber Law. Say it with me, Bart. One call, that's all. You didn't say it with me.
They don't pay me. You want to come on to talk Bears tonight?
Yeah, I'll do that. Let me know.
9:20?
Send me a link. I'll be there, buddy.
We'll just call you.
All right. Sounds good. That's Bart Winkler. You can catch him tonight, and apparently
you want to come on
him
at 10:20 so you can be on the score. What time do the Cubs play?
The Cubs play, I believe, 6:40 first pitch tonight, so they should be either one work. 9:20 or 10:20 works. Whatever works for you. Consult with your producer. Get back to me.
Right now. Pick.
10:20. Let's do 10:20.
Okay.
All right, buddy. So catch me on with Bart Winkler tonight at 10:20. Thanks, Bart. Always a pleasure, man.
Thanks, Ramie.
There's Bart Winkler. Catch him tonight, 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. right here on The Fan. Quick break, and then we'll get you your green and gold update. Jason Hirschhorn, co-founder of the Leap Packers newsletter. He joins me, Ramie Makhlouf, in for Steve Sparky Pfeiffer on Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's and live from the 1250 a.m., 105.7 FM, The Fan studios, and powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook.
It's time for your green and gold update on Wisconsin Sports Daily, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook on 1250 AM and 105.7 FM, The Fan, with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer.
Sparky out today. Ramie Makhlouf in for Spark Dog on Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's live from the 1250 AM, 105.7 FM, The Fan studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. And it is indeed time for your green and gold update. And joining me now on the Fan guest line, powered by Gruber Law. One call, that's all. For your green and gold update, you can find his work in the Leap Packers newsletter, which he is the founder of. You can also follow him on Twitter at @by_JBH. Pleasure to welcome in Jason Hirschhorn. Jason, how are you this afternoon, my man?
Been a busy one, not going to lie, Ramie.
Yeah, it has. With the news this morning that Jordan Love is going to have surgery on the thumb of his non-throwing hand. How big a deal is this in your eyes, Jason?
So I feel like the amount of, let's just say, freak out is completely out of line with what the actual situation is. So Jordan Love, according to the team, hurt himself not late in the preseason game, but late in his action in the preseason opener. He practiced yesterday with that thumb. And the reporters present could see him kind of handing off with his right hand only. They could tell that something was different. He had his left thumb taped. But he was able to go through a full practice, that full battery of work, without there being any real disruption. So because it's the preseason, because they have several weeks before the regular season begins, they have the time for him to have this surgery. They mentioned, Brian Gutekunst in particular, in the press conference today, that Love is hopefully going to get back to practice in about a week. Even if he's not going to play again in the preseason, they don't think it's going to knock him out that long. If he only loses, let's just say 4 or 5 practices over the course of a week, that's not nothing, but it's also not the biggest deal in the world. He's worked a lot with this offense, a lot with these teammates, and he's going to get more work between now and the regular season. So I would say on the fearometer, this one rates pretty low, despite it being a thumb procedure to a quarterback.
Yeah, it's obviously not worst case scenario, but even Matt LaFleur acknowledged that there's a setback when a guy is going to miss reps. He obviously won't get any more preseason snaps, just in the benefit of reps, of working with guys, whether it's a new wide receiver in Matthew Golden or a couple new faces on the offensive line and guys getting used to his cadence or whatever the case might be. Or if this thing is still healing up when the season starts and he has to change the way he hands off the football or takes a snap from under center or under the shotgun. I mean, it does have some effect, right, Jade? Like it's not like I said, worst case scenario, but it could have some effect on Jordan Love and the Packers moving forward.
I would say this. There has never been a football coach that I have covered in my entire career who didn't act like missing a day of practice was like the original sin. So it's not that Jordan Love missing practice doesn't matter. It's no coach is going to tell you that it's not a big deal. It's just not in their DNA. Given that, again, we saw Love practice do the full workout yesterday and that the team expects him to get back to practice before the regular season, even if he's not going to appear again in the preseason, I don't think that's indicative of the severity of the injury. And unless it was going to affect his ability to take snaps from under center, and there's no indication as of this moment that that is really something the team is even worried about, I don't think that's ultimately something we're talking about 2 weeks, 3 weeks from now, unless he was to re-injure it or have some other kind of issue.
I'm not one to throw the injury-prone tag on somebody, and I just talked with Bart Winkler of the Infinity Sports Network, and he said he doesn't believe a guy can be injury-prone. It's just kind of a luck of the draw thing. Some guys maybe are in situations where they could get injured more than others, but do you think that's something that's maybe going to start to follow Jordan Love around if this continues with 3 injuries last year, starting this year with the thumb injury? Do you think it starts to be something that is lingering in the mind of Packers fans moving forward if this keeps on happening?
I think until a player consistently misses time, it's just not a really accurate way to describe anyone. You know, Love did not miss a game during his first full season as the starter. He only missed 2 starts, and despite the injuries he had last year. And he's not going to miss, barring anything developing after this, anytime during the regular season this year. So I just don't see that being really a factor here. Like, players get banged up. It's football. There is a 100% injury rate, and him getting his left non-throwing thumb hurt and having a procedure on it now doesn't really matter. And even if it was to affect him, by the way, in some small area during the regular season, keep in mind, they have an early bye week. So even though it didn't look advantageous when the schedule came out several months ago, you know, that's going to be time where he can rest up if there's anything going on with that thumb, if it's sore or whatever.
A couple of good pieces of news, I guess you could say, on the injury front, Jason. One, and I was surprised to hear this, it sounds like Christian Watson might be back, listening to Brian Gutekunst, sooner than a lot of people thought possible when he went down with that injury late last year.
Yeah, I think the original expectation, not just from the team, but from what we were hearing in terms of the insider reports, was that if things went well, if there was not a setback, that Christian Watson could start returning to football activity, which, by the way, is not the same as playing in a game,
right,
sometime around midseason. At this point, the general manager of the Green Bay Packers had to come out and say, I think he's going to start the season on the PUP list. That's not the same as, by the way, guaranteeing it, although that will almost certainly happen given the Packers' history and their medical staff. But the fact that wasn't even he's definitely on PUP, he's going to be out a while, it's going to be PUP most likely. And after that 4th game, once he's eligible to come back, We know that's something that he's going to be itching to do. Is something that we're going to discuss. It does seem like they're going to get Christian Watson back maybe after the first month of the regular season.
Wow.
Maybe they'll give him a little time after that PUP period to ramp up. They don't need to push it necessarily. And that means that they're going to get, barring another unrelated injury or re-injury or whatever it could be, maybe more or less a full season of Christian Watson, which is not something I think most of us expected when he tore his ACL at the end of the 2024 regular season.
And Xavier McKinney, they're saying, is going to be back sooner rather than later. And more good injury news for Packers fans.
Yeah, the term used by Brian Gutekunst was absolutely, as in absolutely, he is going to be available for week one. That kind of got brushed under the rug with all the other news that was coming out of the press conference, but they basically said Xavier McKinney is a surefire going to play in week one player. Like, they're holding him out of the preseason. That makes sense. He's a veteran player. They know what he can do. He knows what he has to do. It's not that they wouldn't prefer to have him in practice, but it's not necessary. He should be fine at this point as long as he heals up. I think you got that message from the tone of Brian Gutekunst that they expect him to be not just available, but full go when the regular season arrives.
Talking with Jason Hirschhorn, co-founder of the Leap Packers newsletter here in your Green and Gold update on Wisconsin Sports Daily. Ramie Makhlouf in for Steve Sparky Pfeiffer. I know that first-round draft picks can get a lot of hype and a lot of praise in their first training camp, but man, I don't remember the last time I heard people talking about a first-round pick and a wide receiver in Packers camp the way that I'm hearing people talk about Matthew Golden here this spring and summer.
To put this into context, and there's a lot of caveats that go with any rookie during training camp. There are supposed star players on every roster that have just come into the league, and then we get to the regular season, and most of them fall off. So we have to talk about that part of it too. But in terms of the way that Matthew Golden has performed to this point in training camp, you have to go back, I think, to Clay Matthews in 2009 in terms of a first-round pick for the Packers that had generated as much buzz internally in terms of actually at 1265 Lombardi Avenue, not just among media and fans, as Matthew Golden has done thus far this year. He has certainly checked every box from a hand standpoint. We obviously know that's a focus on Packers receivers after what happened last season, but it's the refinement in his route running. It's all those little things. You hear it from the way Matt LaFleur talks about it. You hear it from the way that Jordan Love talks about him. They're almost taking it as a given that he's going to be a really good player. They're talking about the ways that he is going to find those little nuances, develop them, iron out wrinkles. Like the way they would talk about maybe a third-year player in most other instances, they're saying that about a rookie right now. Matthew Golden, to this point, again, it's just to this point, things could change when the games start counting, but so far has checked every box. And if you're the Packers, you make that big move to draft a wide receiver after not doing so in the first round for multiple decades. Right now, it looks like that was a wise choice.
Do you think he immediately goes into the wide receiver one slot in terms of his role in the offense, the targets, the production that we'll see from him, or is it still a process of climbing the ladder and finding his legs at the next level?
Well, some of this depends on how you define that, and we know that's kind of a bit of a weird topic in Green Bay, given the way that Matt LaFleur feels about number one wide receiver. Yeah. But in terms of targets, keep in mind that last year's number one receiver was Dontavian Wicks. It wasn't Jaden Reed, who actually led the team in receiving yards and did so the year before, too. So there's multiple ways you can define it. But I think matters is if you look at the way that the Packers are deploying Golden in practice and in that first preseason game, he is he's starting and he's playing in 12 personnel. That's a 2 tight end set, which means that he is going to, in all likelihood, be a starter or de facto starter when the regular season begins. And he's not someone they're going to take off the field when they add bigger bodies in the way that Jaden Reed, for the most part, only plays in 11 personnel and they play him in the slot. It seems like they're comfortable with Golden being out there on the boundary primarily, which means he could see, health permitting, 70+% of snaps over the course of the season. And if he's playing that much and he's able to maintain really any degree of this momentum into and through the regular season, there's a real scenario where even if he's not by every metric their number one wide receiver, he's certainly in that conversation and he's delivering for them as a rookie.
You just brought up Dontavian Wicks and Jordan Reed, and I think we can talk about Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson in the same breath when talking about One of the problems for this Packers teams last year, and one of the things that held back the offense and hurt Jordan Love's production, quite frankly, was drop passes. And Jason, we saw that again in the preseason opener on Saturday night. How frustrated is Matt LaFleur and his staff about the fact that his wide receivers just aren't holding on to the ball at the rate that you'd like to see?
I think they're more frustrated with the discourse that they have to address at press conferences. They're actually concerned about it. If you look at last season, obviously they had drop problems, and they weren't just the total number of drops, it's when those drops were occurring, especially on third downs and in the red zone. It was a real problem for them. There is no way around it. But you look at those same players the year before. Jaden Reed dropped 3 passes as a rookie. You look at Dontavian Wicks. He only dropped, I think, 2 passes, maybe 3 as a rookie, which is to say their numbers last year in terms of drops were highly inflated, and that's a number that tends to regress to the mean. I don't think that they're truly worried about having a ton of drops in the regular season, even though obviously in the preseason opener, that was an issue again. Now, it's a narrative, and it's going to remain a narrative until they prove otherwise, but they're certainly happy with the way that Matthew Golden has not dropped passes. I think, depending on how you count it, he's only had 1 or 2 the entire training camp, which would be impressive for anyone, let alone a rookie. Dontavian Wicks hasn't really had a drop issue. Now, he's also missed several weeks of practice now, so that's part of it. But even before that, his hands looked pretty reliable. He was making some tough catches. And it wasn't an issue for Jaden Reed either thus far in camp, even though he's now dealing with that foot issue. So you add it up all together, and I think the most likely outcome is drops, even though they will happen at times, as they do for every team. They're not going to be as frequent in 2025 for the Packers as they were in 2024.
The other thing that had to be frustrating for the coaches in that game Saturday night, the procedural penalties, the illegal formation, false start type of things that can really stall a drive. We saw that a few times in the game on Saturday. Is that something that you've already seen Matt LaFleur emphasizing in the couple of days of practice that they've had since then?
So I think we need to divide those offensive line penalties into sort of 2 categories. There's the post-snap ones, the holds, and there's you mentioned it, the legal formation penalty. Mm-hmm. The latter, LaFleur said earlier this week or this weekend that he didn't really think he didn't say it was that one specifically, but it was fairly clear from context he was referring to that one, something he doesn't think is going to be called during the regular season. And it has to do with the way the offensive line kind of makes that like V shape, kind of fanning out from the center. This is something that's been happening across the league in the preseason, something they're clearly emphasizing right now. And, maybe in week 1 or week 2, like we saw last year, we see more of those penalties. I don't think Matt LaFleur is super worried about those things being called throughout the year. It's just a thing that they're trying to emphasize now, and then they'll get away from it over the course of the year. Now, the holding penalties, that is a different story. That was clearly an issue for several offensive linemen and Jacob Monk in particular. Now, LaFleur thought that one of those holding penalties was really more the fault of somebody else, and Monk just had to make up for it. The other ones, though, are on him. You have a game in which you get 3 of those. There's only so much context you can offer to mitigate that. Like, Monk had a pretty poor performance from that perspective, and he wasn't the only interior offensive lineman who struggled. Sean Ryan, when he was at right guard, was fine. When he moved into center, when they sent in that second unit, he struggled in the pass protection, and some of his snaps were a little off too. I think they're starting to wonder if maybe they don't have as much depth along the interior if Jordan Morgan is going to stay at tackle. Still unclear on that front, but that could be the case, in which case they need to figure out who's going to be that first offensive lineman off the bench to take over for someone on the interior. I think that is the big question for them along the offensive line right now until further notice.
That's Jason Hirschhorn. You can check out The Leap, the Packers newsletter, and find The Leap. You can find a link to it at @by_JBH, which is how you can follow Jason on Twitter. Jason, great stuff as always, man. Really appreciate the time and the insight.
All right. Have a great day, Ramie.
And he joins me on the fan guest hotline powered by Gruber Law. One call, that's all. Things I missed, and we'll look ahead to the Brewers game with Tommy Wirtz, host of the On Deck Show. Leadoff show coming up next right here on Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's from the 1250 AM, 105.7 FM, The Fan Studios, and powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. I don't care about that. I've complained about the bumper music in past stints, filling in for Spark Dog here. Ramie Makhlouf in for Sparky on Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's and live from the 1250 AM, 105.7 FM The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. I feel like it's been updated a little bit, Charlie. Got a little Weezer in there.
I don't know if it's fully been updated. There's some days where I don't recognize any songs. Okay. But then, you get a Buddy Holly every once in a while, and that's all right.
Love me some Weezer. Love me some Weezer. I'm glad they snuck that in there. Like I said, Ramie in for Sparky on Wisconsin Sports Daily today. I feel like there's not a lot that I missed. Charlie, did I miss anything on today's show?
You didn't miss too much. I think when we were talking about the rundown earlier in the show, you were mentioning some Micah Parsons potential trade topics, and that's something you want to
that's right. I didn't get to that today. You know what? Let me pull that in real quick, and I'll also welcome in Tommy Wirtz, who's going to be hosting the leadoff show coming up here in just a few minutes. Get you ready for Brewers and Pirates. Tommy, how are you? Feel free to jump in on the conversation, my man.
I am very good.
Oh, I have to turn your mic on. There it is.
There it is.
Yep.
There we go. Nice. Yeah, I'm good. How are you, Ramie?
Good. And there is in a roundabout way some Brewers stuff we could get to here if we have time before we wrap things up.
Right.
But it was about a week ago. I'm surprised Sparky didn't jump on this because Sparky likes stuff like this. The Athletic put out 3 potential trade proposals for Micah Parsons, and one was the New York Jets. One was the Chicago Bears, and I discussed it on our sister station, The Score, when I was over there last week. And the third one was the Green Bay Packers. And they threw this out there, that the Packers would give up their 2026, 2027 first-round pick and Romeo Doubs for Micah Parsons. You guys in on that? I'd be in on that if I'm a Packers fan, right?
I think that's a pretty easy one for me, if I'm being honest.
I'd do that in a heartbeat if I'm the Packers.
Yeah, I just don't imagine that it's that. Like, what was the Khalil Mack trade like, you Chicago boys?
I will tell you. That was because it's identical to the trade that they proposed for Micah Parsons this time around. It was a 2026 first-rounder, 2027 first-rounder, 2027 third-rounder, and a 2027 sixth-rounder for Parsons, and they get a 4th-round pick and a 7th-round pick along with Parsons coming back. It was the same exact trade that they made for Khalil Mack, except for one thing. They specify it here. This offer is the same as Mack, but the Bears get a 4th-round pick back instead of a 2nd. So they got a 2nd-round pick back along with Khalil Mack in that trade. So it was a first, a third, no, 2 firsts, a third, and a 6th for Khalil Mack, and a 2nd-round pick and a 7th-round pick.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't understand why the phone wouldn't be ringing immediately if that was the call, right? If that was what it was, if it was that easy, I do think there's a stubbornness with Jerry Jones where he's not going to make this trade already, but if that was the deal, the Packers would be foolish not to give up that for Micah Parsons, it feels like.
Yeah, 2 firsts and Romeo Doubs.
Yeah.
In a heartbeat.
Should be easy.
In a heartbeat. And I don't know why they necessarily want Romeo Doubs. They have CeeDee Lamb, and they just traded for George Pickens from the Steelers. I don't know that they need a wide receiver that bad, that would sweeten the pot to the point that it would entice Jerry Jones to make the deal.
Real question, what does Jaden Reed change his number to then?
That's a fair question.
Right?
That is a fair question.
Who cares? I think that's what the question, or answer to the question is. He can be 23 if he wants.
Yeah, right. Something along those lines.
I mentioned that maybe, just maybe, some in a roundabout way, some news and things we missed that could affect the Milwaukee Brewers. They announced the dates for all the Major League Baseball playoff games today. And as far as the National League goes, you'll have I don't think, well, you hope you don't have to worry about the first round, right? The wild card series.
Right.
Those will be on October 1st. September 30th, October 1st, and October 2nd. That's my birthday. Divisional series will be October 4th, October 6th, and October 8th for the National League. And if necessary, October 10th and October 11th. They'll have a Game 6 and a Game 7. And then the League Championship Series will be the 13th, 14th, 16th, 18th, and 20th, and if necessary, October 21st. And then the World Series will be played from October 24th to November 1st. So if you want to start putting in the vacation requests, Brewers fans, right now, we have the dates in which the Brewers will hopefully be playing playoff baseball.
Yeah, I don't know if you know this, Ramie, but I have betting interest in the Milwaukee Brewers.
Really?
I forget the odds I got them at, but I put $50 down, and it was just the branding was too perfect. You get $12.50 if you win.
Really?
So, yeah, I can't remember what the odds
to win
were.
the World Series?
Correct. Yes.
Oh, okay.
It was about a month ago, maybe or so. And now the odds look probably way better in my favor, but. How could I not try to win $12.50? That was just so perfect.
It's kismet, really.
Yes. So I am ready for November already. Like this team, it's really hard to not look forward with this team. But that's really the best part about this team, right? Is that every single day you have to hear Pat Murphy. Sparky thinks it's always crapping in the Cheerios, but he's just saying, we don't worry about things that happened before. We don't worry about things that are going to happen. It's all about today with this team. And you talked about it earlier as well. I mean, they just prove it. Anytime you make a mistake, they're going to win the game. Yeah. It feels like that every time they play right now. And they have another 10-game winning streak going. And the team is just remarkable.
It's
right
wild.
Now.
It's a crazy, crazy season that they're putting together, and especially with the way it started.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know.
Oh my gosh!
I don't know if you heard the stat I threw out there earlier, but since May 25th, when they started this turnaround, and it was against the Pirates, who they'll face tonight, they've won 49 of 65 games, and they've won 25 of their last 29 games.
Yeah.
That's great. Like, teams don't go on runs like that. They don't get that hot. And to illustrate that, they're only the third team in the modern era to have two winning streaks of 10-plus games. The others were the 2019 Astros and the 2017 Dodgers, who both ended up in the World Series. So when I say, like, these dates might matter to Brewers fans, there's no tongue-in-cheek, there's no hyperbole in me saying that. These dates might matter to Brewers fans if history is any indication.
Yeah, I completely understand. And I had a conversation today on the Mason Crosby show, and I needed to get talked down from Mason Crosby because I had like loser talk getting into my brain, which I'm sure you two guys are familiar with that all too much.
I appreciate that.
But
I love me some me.
Pretty
you know what I mean?
Pretty much my thought was, gosh, this team just don't lose to the Cubs in the playoffs. Like, that is all I care about. If they lose to anyone else, okay, I would love to see how far this team could go. I think they're really awesome, but I don't know if I could deal with the devastation of losing a series to the Cubs in the playoffs right now with this team, because I just love everything they do from the top down. Matt Arnold took on so much heat, and, a lot of people criticized him. He's going to win General Manager of the Year. Pat Murphy is, constantly talking about how he's just doing this with average Joes every day, and the only way you can justify that is he's trying to make his campaign for Manager of the Year as well. Isaac Collins, Quinn Priester, Andrew Vaughn. I mean, these are all guys you've never heard of until this year.
Cast-offs.
Yes.
Cast-offs from other teams,
all of them, yes, exactly. Isaac Collins was a Rule of 5 draft pick in the minor leagues. It wasn't even from the major leagues at the time. And on top of that, Priester was given up on because he stunk wherever he was beforehand. And Andrew Vaughn, obviously, Chicago, just did the same thing with him. This team is led by so many just unsung heroes. And on top of that, their guy, Christian Yelich, who is obviously the heartbeat of the team, and Brandon Woodruff, for that matter, too. Both of those guys coming back stronger than ever this year.
Heck of a matchup tonight. You'll be going up against Paul Skeens, but you're throwing Freddie Peralta at them, and you still feel pretty good about your chances, despite probably the best pitcher in baseball stepping to the bump for the Pirates as the Brewers go for their 11th straight win, their second 11-game winning streak of the season tonight. Catch Tommy on the leadoff show coming up right after I wrap things up here. My thanks to Andrew Wagner of Forbes Sports, covers the Brewers for us here at The Fan. Bart Winkler, catch him tonight on the Infinity Sports Network, and I'll apparently be a guest of his in the 9 or 10 o'clock hour. We're still figuring that out. And Jason Hirschhorn of the Leap Packers newsletter. They all joined me on the show today. If you missed any of that or anything on today's show, you can check it out at thefanmilwaukee.com or on that handy-dandy Odyssey app. Just use the rewind feature. Go and find anything that's been on these airwaves. Also, thanks to you for listening and contributing, and thanks to Charlie, Ramie Makhlouf for Sparky, saying I'll talk to you next time.